June 22nd, 1983. A 15-year-old girl walks through the ancient streets of Rome, her flute case swinging at her side. Emanuela Orlandi is a Vatican citizen, one of the most protected people on earth. She attends her music lesson like she has dozens of times before, but today is different. At 7 p.m., she calls her sister from a payphone. Her voice is excited. A man approached her after class. He offered her a job with Avon Cosmetics. A promotion, he said. Good money. She sounds hopeful. That phone call lasts 3 minutes. It's the last time anyone hears Emanuela Orlandi's voice. Within hours, her family realizes something is terribly wrong. Within days, the Vatican is scrambling for answers. Within weeks, anonymous callers are making chilling demands. Release the man who tried to assassinate the Pope, or Emanuela dies. But here's what they don't tell you. This isn't just the story of a missing teenager. This is the story of how one girl's disappearance exposed the Vatican's darkest secrets. Organized crime, political blackmail, and allegations so disturbing that the Catholic Church has spent 40 years trying to bury them. Emanuela Orlandi vanished inside the walls of the most sacred place on earth, and 4 decades later, her family is still fighting for the truth. What happened to the Vatican's missing girl? The answer is more shocking than you can imagine. If you want to uncover one of history's most guarded mysteries, subscribe now, because what we've discovered will shake the foundations of your faith. Emanuela Orlandi was not just any 15-year-old girl. She was Vatican royalty, born and raised within the ancient walls of the smallest country in the world. Her father, Ercole Orlandi, worked as a clerk for the Pontifical Commission for Vatican City State. Her family lived in a modest apartment just steps from St. Peter's Basilica, in a community where everyone knew everyone. In Vatican City, there are no strangers. There are no random crimes. There are only 800 residents, and each one is carefully vetted by the Swiss Guard. It's a place where popes walk freely, where children play in courtyards that have stood for centuries, where safety is not a concern. It's a guarantee. Emanuela was a typical teenager in many ways. She loved music, practicing her flute with dedication. She dreamed of a career, maybe something in fashion or cosmetics. She was outgoing, trusting, and naive in the way that only children raised in paradise can be. But Vatican City, in 1983, was not the sanctuary it appeared to be. Behind the marble facades and golden altars, dark currents were flowing. The Vatican Bank was embroiled in scandal. Italian organized crime had its tentacles reaching into the highest levels of the church. And just 2 years earlier, a Turkish gunman had nearly assassinated Pope John Paul II in broad daylight. Rome was a city where political intrigue and religious power collided daily, where billion-dollar financial deals were brokered in shadow, and where powerful men made decisions that could topple governments. It was into this world that Emanuela Orlandi walked on that June afternoon, a world where innocence was a luxury the Vatican could no longer afford. The morning sun casts long shadows across Vatican City as Emanuela Orlandi steps out of her family's apartment. She's dressed casually, her flute case swinging at her side as she walks past the Swiss guards who have known her since childhood. The journey to Rome takes 20 minutes by bus. Emanuela settles into her seat, watching the ancient walls disappear as the bus winds through chaotic traffic. She arrives at the Tommaso Ludovico da Vittoria Music School precisely at 5 p.m., greets her instructor with a smile, and spends the next hour practicing. At 6 p.m. sharp, she packs her flute and steps onto Via del Corso. The evening rush hour thrums with energy as she walks to the bus stop on Corso Rinascimento, her steps light, her spirits high. The bus stop is crowded. Office workers check watches impatiently. Tourists study maps. Emanuela finds a spot and waits. This is where everything changes. The man approaches from behind. Witnesses later describe him as well-dressed, 30s, expensive suit, with the bearing of someone accustomed to authority. He moves with purpose, eyes fixed on the girl with the flute case. "Excuse me," he says, voice smooth and confident. "Are you Emanuela?" She turns, surprised but not alarmed. In Vatican City, everyone knows everyone. Perhaps he's a friend of her father's. "Yes," she replies cautiously. The man smiles, practiced, warm, but not reaching his eyes. "I thought so. I'm Mario. I work for Avon Cosmetics. We've been watching your progress at the music school, and we're impressed." Emanuela's eyebrows rise. Every teenage girl in Italy knows Avon. It's glamorous, sophisticated, a chance to be part of something bigger. "We're looking for young women to represent our brand," Mario continues. "Models, essentially. You have exactly the look we're seeking." The conversation continues for several minutes. Photo shoots, promotional events, maybe television commercials. The pay is excellent. More money than she's ever imagined. All she needs is to come for a screen test tomorrow. He hands her a business card, thick cardstock, embossed gold logo. Everything screams legitimacy. "Think about it," Mario says. "This could change your life." He melts back into the crowd, leaving Emanuela alone with the card. Her heart races. Could her dreams of independence be coming true so suddenly? At exactly 7 p.m., she calls her sister from a nearby payphone. "You'll never believe what just happened," Emanuela says, voice bubbling with excitement. She tells her about the encounter, the job offer, the possibilities opening before her. She sounds hopeful, optimistic, alive. "I think I'm going to do it," she says. "I think this could be my chance." The conversation lasts 3 minutes and 14 seconds. Her sister hears traffic in the background, buses arriving and departing. Everything seems normal. Everything seems safe. "I'll call you when I get home," Emanuela says. "I want to tell Mama and Papa." Those are the last words anyone ever hears from Emanuela Orlandi. When 8 p.m. arrives without her return, her parents worry. By 9 p.m., they're calling police. By 10 p.m., Ercole Orlandi walks Rome's streets, showing his daughter's photograph to anyone who will look. The Vatican, despite all its power, is suddenly helpless. Their most protected citizen has vanished without trace. But the investigation reveals chilling inconsistencies. The bus driver has no memory of seeing her. Security cameras show nothing. When investigators follow up on Avon, they discover something that sends ice through their veins. Avon Italia has no recruitment campaign, no employee named Mario, no record of Emanuela Orlandi. The business card, if it ever existed, has vanished along with her. Someone knows what happened to Emanuela Orlandi, someone who is about to make their demands known to the world. Within hours, both Vatican and Italian authorities launch what becomes one of the most complex investigations in modern European history. Vatican Secretary of State, Cardinal Casaroli, personally oversees the Church's involvement, while Rome's most experienced detectives take charge. Detective Inspector Gianluigi Marini quickly realizes this defies every pattern he's encountered. No signs of struggle, no ransom demands, no logical explanation for how a teenage girl could vanish from one of Rome's busiest intersections. Investigators cast a wide net, interviewing everyone in the area. The descriptions of the mysterious man vary wildly: tall, short, mustache, clean-shaven. The only consistent detail is his expensive clothing and confident demeanor. The fake Avon business card becomes crucial evidence, but leads nowhere. The printing is professional, logo authentic, but Avon Italia confirms they never produced such cards. Someone went to considerable trouble creating convincing credentials for a carefully planned abduction. Phone records reveal something chilling. The payphone Emanuela used was monitored by someone, not police, but an unknown third party. Technical analysis suggests sophisticated surveillance equipment, typically used by intelligence services or organized crime. Within days, investigators focus on Raul Bonarelli, a small-time criminal with underground connections. But when they raid his apartment, they find nothing. Bonarelli has an alibi. He was in prison the day Emanuela disappeared. The false lead costs precious time, but reveals something more disturbing. Someone has been feeding investigators false information, deliberately misleading the search. Who has the power to manipulate a high-profile investigation? 2 weeks after the disappearance, the first anonymous call arrives at the Orlandi home. The voice is electronically distorted, speaking in measured tones. "Your daughter is alive," the caller says. "If you want to see her again, the Vatican must release Mehmet Ali Aka." The demand is shocking. Aka is the Turkish gunman who tried to assassinate Pope John Paul II in 1981. He's serving life in Rome's most secure prison. The idea that criminals would kidnap a girl to secure his release seems impossible. Yet someone is making exactly that demand. More calls follow over coming weeks, sometimes claiming to represent terrorist organizations, sometimes different voices entirely. The callers demonstrate detailed knowledge of Emanuela's life, habits, family. They know things only someone close to her could know. By autumn, the investigation splits into competing factions. The Vatican wants quiet diplomatic channels. Italian police demand transparency. The Orlandi family, frustrated by lack of progress, begins their own search. Pietro Orlandi, Emanuela's older brother, emerges as the family's advocate. He's methodical, persistent, increasingly suspicious of the official investigation. He documents inconsistencies, tracks abandoned leads, builds his own theory. The case becomes a magnet for false confessions and hoax calls. Each lead requires investigation. Each investigation leads nowhere. Meanwhile, the real trail grows colder. 6 months later, investigators make a disturbing discovery. The timeline doesn't add up. Emanuela's lesson ended at 6 p.m., but witnesses place her at the bus stop as late as 7:30 p.m. What was she doing for that missing hour? Security footage from a nearby bank shows a young woman matching her description, entering a car willingly around 7:15 p.m. Enhanced analysis suggests the license plate belongs to a Vatican employee. When police attempt to follow this lead, they encounter official stonewalling. Vatican officials claim the employee was out of the country. When pressed for documentation, they cite diplomatic immunity and refuse records. So far, police had no solid leads, no credible suspects, and no cooperation from the institution that should want answers most, the Vatican itself. Yet the investigation was about to expose secrets reaching the highest levels of the Catholic Church. The anonymous calls were about to stop, but the kidnappers weren't finished. They were just getting started. The breakthrough comes from an unexpected source. In 1985, Italian police arrest members of the Banda della Magliana, Rome's most powerful criminal organization. During interrogations, one name keeps surfacing: Emanuela Orlandi. Enrico de Pedis, the gang's ruthless leader, has been bragging about a job that brought the Vatican to its knees. He claims his organization didn't just kidnap the girl. They did it for someone much more powerful, someone inside the Vatican itself. The revelation shatters everything investigators thought they knew. This wasn't random abduction by amateur criminals. This was a carefully orchestrated operation involving Rome's most dangerous men, working for someone with access to the highest levels of the Catholic Church. But de Pedis takes his secrets to the grave. In 1990, he's gunned down in Rome's historic center, murder never solved. Yet his former lieutenant, Antonio Mancini, makes a chilling confession years later. We knew about the girl. We knew where she was taken, but we were paid to forget. The plot thickens when investigators discover the Vatican Bank connection. In the early 1980s, the bank was embroiled in massive financial scandal. Billions had gone missing, much connected to organized crime. Roberto Calvi, the bank's president, was found hanging under London's Blackfriars Bridge in 1982. Officially suicide, widely believed murder. The timing is impossible to ignore. Emanuela disappears just as Vatican officials desperately try to recover missing money. The Banda della Magliana had been laundering Vatican funds for years. What if her kidnapping wasn't about freeing a terrorist? What if it was about silencing witnesses to financial crimes? Then comes the most shocking revelation. In 2005, a former Italian intelligence member breaks his silence. He claims Emanuela was taken not by criminals, but by a joint operation involving Vatican security and foreign intelligence services. The goal wasn't ransom, it was elimination. According to this source, Emanuela had accidentally witnessed something she shouldn't have. Her father's Vatican position gave her access to sensitive areas. She had seen faces, heard conversations, learned secrets that could topple governments. But the story has holes. If Emanuela was killed immediately, why were the anonymous calls so detailed and convincing? Why did callers demonstrate such intimate knowledge of her personality? The answer comes from Father Gabriele Amorth, the Vatican's chief exorcist. In 2012, shortly before his death, Amorth makes a statement that sends shockwaves through Rome. He claims Emanuela was kidnapped by Vatican police and foreign diplomats for parties of a sexual nature. According to Amorth, she was held in a villa outside Rome, where powerful men engaged in unspeakable acts. She was kept alive for months, possibly years, before being murdered when she became too much of a liability. The exorcist's claims are dismissed as ramblings of an old man, but Amorth had spent decades hearing confessions from the church's most powerful people. He knew secrets that could destroy reputations, end careers, topple institutions. Why would he lie about something so explosive with his dying breath? The truth becomes more twisted when investigators discover that several men connected to these alleged parties died under mysterious circumstances in years following Emanuela's disappearance. Car accidents, sudden heart attacks, suicides, all involving people who might have had information. Someone has been systematically eliminating witnesses, someone with power to make people disappear, manipulate investigations, silence even the Vatican's own exorcist. If you think this story couldn't get more shocking, you're wrong. Hit that like button and tell us in the comments. Do you think the Vatican is hiding the truth about Emanuela Orlandi? The final pieces of this 40-year puzzle are about to fall into place, and the answer will shake your faith to its core. The final truth about Emanuela Orlandi may never be fully known, but evidence points to a conspiracy so vast and protected that it has survived 4 decades of investigation, media scrutiny, and family determination. In 2019, the Vatican made an unprecedented move. Acting on an anonymous tip, they opened 2 ancient tombs in the Teutonic Cemetery, claiming they might contain Emanuela's remains. The world watched as archaeologists carefully removed centuries-old stone slabs. Both tombs were empty, not just empty of Emanuela's body, completely empty. The remains that should have been there for hundreds of years had vanished. Someone had been using these sacred burial sites for purposes the Vatican refuses to explain. The anonymous tip wasn't about finding Emanuela. It was about exposing how far the cover-up extends. The investigation revealed disturbing details. Security logs showed unexplained late-night visits by Vatican officials. Ground-penetrating radar detected evidence of recent excavations. Maintenance records had been systematically altered or destroyed. Someone had been using the Vatican's most sacred spaces to hide evidence. But evidence of what? The answer may lie in the Netflix documentary that premiered in 2022. Vatican Girl brought together decades of investigation, revealing connections previous inquiries had missed. The documentary presented a timeline Italian authorities had never made public, showing Emanuela's disappearance coincided with a massive Vatican bank audit that could have exposed decades of money laundering. Following the documentary's global success, the Vatican took an extraordinary step. For the first time in 40 years, they invited the Orlandi family to meet with church officials and promised full cooperation. But the meeting revealed more questions than answers. Church officials admitted that files related to Emanuela's case had been misplaced over the years. Key documents from 1983 were missing from Vatican archives. Security footage had been routinely destroyed according to protocol. The message was clear. Even if the Vatican wanted to reveal the truth, they might no longer have evidence to do so. Pietro Orlandi, now in his 60s, refuses to give up. He has spent his adult life seeking justice for his sister. In recent interviews, he's hinted at new evidence, new witnesses, new connections that could finally break the case open. But Pietro knows he's running out of time. The men who might have ordered his sister's kidnapping are dying of old age. Witnesses are disappearing. Evidence is being systematically destroyed. In 2023, forensic analysis of the anonymous phone calls from 1983 revealed something chilling. Voice recognition technology suggests at least one caller was someone with direct access to Emanuela during captivity. The calls weren't made by kidnappers reading scripts. They were made by someone who had spent time with her, someone who knew her well enough to convincingly report her emotional state. This means Emanuela was alive for weeks, possibly months after her disappearance. She was close enough to her captors that they could accurately report her words, feelings, hopes, and fears to her family. She was alive, and she was suffering. The investigation has reached an impasse that feels both frustrating and inevitable. Evidence points to conspiracy involving the highest levels of the Vatican, Italian organized crime, and possibly foreign intelligence services. But the same power structure that enabled the crime continues to protect those responsible. Emanuela Orlandi vanished into the shadows of one of the world's most powerful institutions. 40 years later, those shadows are as dark as ever. The Orlandi family has paid a devastating price for their 4-decade search for truth. Pietro Orlandi has dedicated his entire adult life to finding his sister. The constant media attention, death threats, and false leads have taken a toll few families could survive. "We have lived 40 years in suspended animation," Pietro said recently. "We cannot grieve because we don't know if she's dead. We cannot celebrate her memory because we don't know what happened. We exist in limbo that the church created and refuses to resolve." The family has received hundreds of threatening calls over the years, anonymous letters warning them to stop asking questions, cars following them through Rome's streets. The message is always the same: some secrets are too dangerous to uncover. Maria Orlandi, Emanuela's mother, died in 2014 without ever learning what happened to her daughter. Her final words were a plea: "Promise me you'll keep looking for her." The funeral was attended by Vatican officials who offered condolences, but no answers. Ercole Orlandi struggled with guilt until his death in 2004. He believed his Vatican position had made his daughter a target. In final years, he became increasingly paranoid, convinced the church he'd served faithfully was responsible for destroying his family. The case has claimed other victims. Journalists who investigated too deeply found careers destroyed. Witnesses died under suspicious circumstances. Even Roberto Calvi's family believes his murder was connected to the Orlandi case, part of a wider conspiracy to silence anyone who knew too much. The Catholic Church itself has suffered immeasurable reputation damage. Pope Francis, when asked about the case in 2019, promised maximum transparency and urged Vatican officials to cooperate fully. But transparency has remained elusive, cooperation minimal. The case has become a symbol of institutional corruption, extending far beyond one missing girl. It represents everything wrong with secretive power structures operating above law, beyond accountability, immune from consequences. In Rome, Emanuela Orlandi has become a folk hero. Her face appears on posters throughout the city, often with words "Verità per Emanuela," truth for Emanuela. Street artists have created murals depicting her as an angel watching over the Vatican, demanding justice from heaven. International human rights organizations have cited the Orlandi case as evidence of the Vatican's need for external oversight. The Church's claim to sovereignty, they argue, cannot extend to covering up potential crimes against children. The Vatican still stands, its walls as impenetrable as ever. The men who might have ordered a teenage girl's disappearance have died peacefully in their beds, taking secrets to graves that will never be disturbed. And somewhere in Rome, in an unmarked grave or scattered to the wind, lies what remains of Emanuela Orlandi, a girl whose only crime was being in the wrong place at the wrong time, in a world where innocence is no protection against evil. 40 years have passed since Emanuela Orlandi walked into the shadows of Rome and never walked out. 40 years of lies, cover-ups, and institutional silence. 40 years of a family's anguish and a church's shame. The truth about what happened that June evening in 1983 may be buried so deep it will never see daylight. The men who ordered her disappearance are likely dead. Evidence has been destroyed or hidden. Witnesses have been silenced. But the questions remain as haunting as ever. Why would the Vatican, an institution built on truth and compassion, choose to protect those who hurt a child? What secrets are so dangerous they're worth 40 years of covering up a teenage girl's disappearance? The case has revealed something disturbing about our world, that innocence offers no protection, that power corrupts absolutely, that some truths are too dangerous for the powerful to allow. Pietro Orlandi continues his search, now in his 60s, still hoping someone will finally break their silence, still believing justice, however delayed, will eventually come. Perhaps he's right. Perhaps one day a deathbed confession will emerge. Perhaps new evidence will surface. Perhaps the Vatican will finally choose truth over self-preservation. Or perhaps Emanuela Orlandi will join countless other victims whose stories have been buried beneath institutional power, their voices silenced forever by forces too powerful to challenge. In the end, the mystery of Emanuela Orlandi isn't just about one missing girl. It's about all of us. It's about what we're willing to accept, what we're willing to ignore, what we're willing to let powerful institutions get away with in the name of preserving their authority. Some say justice was done when Roberto Calvi was found hanging under Blackfriars Bridge. Others say the real criminals are still walking the Vatican halls, their secrets safe behind walls that have protected the guilty for centuries. The truth is out there, somewhere in the shadows of St. Peter's Basilica, but after 40 years, it seems clear that those who know it would rather take it to their graves than let it see daylight. Emanuela Orlandi deserved better. Her family deserved better. And maybe, just maybe, if enough people refuse to let her story die, the truth will finally set her free. If this story has opened your eyes to the dark secrets hidden behind the world's most powerful institutions, subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. There are more mysteries to uncover, more truths to reveal, more victims whose voices need to be heard. And check out our next investigation into another case the authorities don't want you to know about, the disappearance that exposed a conspiracy reaching the highest levels of government. Click the video on your screen now and prepare to question everything you thought you knew about power, truth, and justice. The search for answers continues, and it won't stop until every secret is exposed and every victim gets the justice they deserve.